I want to express my deep gratitude to you for having chosen to put your trust in me.
Marc Schmitz é oficial de justiça de Saint-Vith, província de Liège, na Bélgica, e em 2018, no Congresso de Bangkok, foi eleito presidente da União Internacional dos Oficiais de Justiça. Desde então, sua aproximação com o continente sul-americano é notável. Esteve presente no Seminário Internacional de Oficiais de Justiça de Brasília e no Congresso Internacional de Oficiais de Justiça de Buenos Aires, ambos em 2019. Mantém-se sempre acessível aos colegas sul-americanos. Contribuiu com um artigo científico para a edição de estreia da revista brasileira Execução Judicial. Em 2020, teve presença confirmada no Conojus de Minas Gerais, antes do evento ser postergado pela crise mundial da pandemia do coronavírus. Sobre essa crise sanitária internacional e sobre suas reflexões sobre a categoria, a Fenassojaf conversa hoje com Marc Schmitz. Hello, Mr. President. How are you? It's a great pleasure talking to you on behalf of the Federal Association of Judicial Officers of Brazil. Here we are in the middle of a lockdown, so we are living a very strange situation with empty streets and everything like that. Well, I would like to start our conversation by asking you how your daily life as a judicial officer has been affected by this coronavirus pandemic.
Hello Malone, I'm fine, thank you very much. I hope that you are also doing well, and please give me the opportunity to greet all Brazilian colleagues and to wish to all of you good health and all the best in these difficult moments. As you might know, beside my position of President of the International Union of Judicial Officers, I'm still working as a judicial officer in my home country, in Belgium. Our profession has strongly been affected by the coronavirus pandemic, and a lot of measures have been taken since the beginning of the crisis. During the peak period, we were not allowed to serve documents, accepted in very urgent matters only, or to enforce judgments. Now we are at the beginning of the releasement of confinement measures, and we are actually allowed to serve again documents by respecting certain sanitary rules and social distancing. We hope that enforcement proceedings will be allowed again for the end of this month.
Do you feel or anticipate a financial impact for yourself and judicial officers worldwide as a result of this health crisis pandemic?
Of course, there will be a very serious financial impact for judicial officers, especially in countries where the judicial officer is not state-employed, but working under an independent liberal status. In most of the European or African countries, judicial officers are self-employed, and they have sometimes important infrastructures with huge monthly fixed costs, and they must pay the salaries of their employees. In most of the countries, the turnover of these offices decreased from 100 to less than 50, and for some even from 100 to 0 within a couple of days. As for each company or self-employed person, the consequences are dramatic if there are no savings that allow you to survive financially for a couple of months. But the situation can even turn worse if state authorities will extend the postponement of enforcement measures beyond the period of confinement. This would be a financial disaster for most of the judicial officers on a worldwide level.
For UIHJ, what is the magnitude of the impact of the pandemic on the entity?
For the UIHJ, things are becoming complicated too. As a worldwide operating organization, we have actually 93 national associations from 89 countries and 4 continents as members. We are used to participate in numerous events as seminars, congresses, workshops or meetings. Till now, everything has been cancelled up to the end of September by most of the organizers, and I am afraid that other events that are supposed taking place for the last 3 months of the year will be cancelled too. The UIHJ should normally hold a permanent council that was supposed to be hosted by our Serbian colleagues in Belgrade in the beginning of May. Such meetings are extremely important for us because it gives us the opportunity to stay in close contact with the member delegations and see each other, but it was cancelled. Some of the meetings with international institutions or organizations are replaced by video conferences. But to be honest, this is not really the same than meeting people physically. There is even already a discussion if the main event of the UIHJ, the International Congress that is fixed for March 2021, should not be rescheduled to rather the end of 2021. For now, nobody knows how long travel and immigration restrictions will be effective, which will be in the future the sanitary requirements for traveling, and what will be the price evolution of flight tickets or travel costs in general when air traffic will maybe stay reduced. The impact of the pandemic for the UIHJ might be enormous. The only thing that we know already right now, the world will be another one after COVID-19.
Thank you. Mark, in some places of the world where the judicial officer is a private and independent agent, the biggest fear is the prohibition of the executing acts. While in countries where the judicial officer is an employee of the judiciary, the fear is just the opposite, that the judiciary press the professionals for the exercise of their duties without a due health care. How can UIHJ unify defense speech of the judicial officer in the face of such diverse realities? And do you understand that private judicial officers end up being more fragile in this crisis?
This is a very interesting question. As an international organization defending the interests of the profession, we must try to find the right balance between both state-employed judicial officers as well as self-employed judicial officers. And you are absolutely right that these interests are different for both groups. As I already explained a couple of minutes ago, self-employed judicial officers are actually suffering on a financial level and are waiting to start as soon as possible again with their activity. As self-employed, they have not only to take care about the sanitary conditions, for example, wearing a protection mask or using disinfectant gel, etc., but they need also to buy the proper equipment themselves. This is completely different for countries where the judicial officer is state-employed. Here it is absolutely required that the state must take care of them and provide all the necessary equipment for protection. The protection of the physical integrity of the judicial officer must be the very first concern of, and the UIHJ considers that this is an absolutely priority for both state-employed and self-employed judicial officers.
As it started as an entity formed by independent professionals, how does UIHJ receive entities from countries where the judicial officer is a civil servant?
The UIHJ is in constant evolution. It started in 1952 when it was created by 7 national chambers of self-employed judicial officers. But right from the beginning, just a couple of years after its creation, countries with state-employed judicial officers, like for example Germany, Italy, or the Scandinavian countries, joined the UIHJ too. After the years, the UIHJ became bigger and bigger, and with the arrival of member countries like the Russian Federation or South American countries, which are working under the state-employed system, it became very clear that there should not be any preference to any system. The main objective of the UIHJ should be to unify colleagues from all over the world, regardless the system, state-employed or self-employed, and to defend their interests towards international institutions and, of course, towards their national authorities. UIHJ is there to provide with its expertise, help and assistance whenever it is required. The world is changing and the profession of judicial officers is changing too. With the introduction of new technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain technology, or digital assets, we must ensure that the judicial officer still keeps the place that he deserves, in the heart of justice. We are the face of the justice. We are a bridge between the justice and the people. We give legal security that no one else except us can give.
Marc, with the increased presence of UIHJ in the South American continent in your administration, several judicial officers began to see in UIHJ an additional hope for the improvement of their working conditions, such as those related to security and safety and rights claims. Does UIHJ live up to those expectations, and how?
UIHJ should be there whenever help and assistance is required. How are we working concretely in that field? We never go beyond our members and contact national authorities without a request or the consent of our members. Mostly, our members are contacting us and explaining the existing problems. Then we create an expert team that will try to make constructive solution proposals which are presented to the member country. If the proposed strategy is approved, we are on the full disposal of the member country to join them in personal meetings together with high-level state authorities and start negotiations and discussions. We have seen in many countries that this might be a good way to solve situations that are blocked already for a long time and to convince state authorities to give the support to the judicial officers that he deserves. This is exactly what we have done in relation with the situation where the assistance of police was or refused or insufficient in a couple of African countries. We elaborated on the request of these countries an official position paper, and we traveled to these countries to present the position paper directly to the Minister of Justice and to the President of the Supreme Court of the country. The result was that the police departments received the instruction to support judicial officers whenever assistance is required, and the formalities to obtain the assistance of police were considerably facilitated. Again, UIHJ never becomes active on its own initiative, but only at the request of the member country, and this to guarantee the sovereignty of the latter one.
Marc, it is perhaps notorious that the financial crisis brought by the pandemic will have a repercussion on the weakening of the entities representing judicial officers around the world. Do you agree with that? And in this sense, do you understand that the coexistence of UIHJ and continental entities, such as UIHJ and others, will create a rivalry for the attention of the country's entities?
First of all, we should never forget that inside of the judiciary, the judicial officer is rather, in terms of numbers, a small profession, especially if we compare it to the lawyers. That is why it's so important to stay united and to speak with one voice. UIHJ is working closely together with international institutions like the United Nations or the Hague Conference for International Private Law. Can you imagine that our profession is represented there by several associations that are defending opposite positions? I think that nobody will take us for serious, and it will not be on the benefit of the profession. If you are speaking about the UIHJ, so the European Union of Judicial Officers, you should keep in mind that it's not an independent organization and that it has been founded by and inside of the UIHJ with one precise aim: to represent on a European level the profession of judicial officers towards the European institutions and to tender projects that are founded by the European Union. If, as an association, you want to obtain funds from the European Union, you must be a European organization. Another aim of the creation of the UIHJ was to promote and to organize lobbying campaigns on the benefit of the profession at the European Parliament. So, as you see, the creation of this European section of the UIHJ, the so-called UIHJ, had most for all practical reasons. And as the president of the UIHJ and the UIHJ are the same, there's a guarantee that the position presented by both associations are always in line with the general politics of the UIHJ that are defined by its members through the Permanent Council. As judicial officers, we must stay united and speak with one voice, the one of the UIHJ, or as we always say, the union is our strength.
Well, finally, I would like to thank you very much for this, and would like to end by asking you if you think that 2020 is a lost year for judicial officers around the world, and what reflections do you make about our profession and the entities representing judicial officers around the world? Thank you very much.
I would not like to call it a lost year, but I would rather call it as a year of new experiences. I think that 2020 shows us more than ever that we must reinvent our profession and that it is more than ever time to look forward. Let me give you a concrete example. In most of the countries, we are talking about e-service of documents. But to be honest, how many countries are really ready and are fulfilling all legal and technical requirements to serve any document on an electronic way with all the guarantees of legal certainty that are required? Just a few only. If we had in each country the legal and technical base that permits e-service of documents, I think that we shouldn't have so many concerns about the sanitary conditions in which judicial officers must work as we have now in relation with the COVID-19 crisis. In some countries, for example in France and in Belgium, where the judicial officer is self-employed, we have seen initiatives that have been taken to promote new activities. For instance, statement of facts in relation with the COVID-19 measures, which could permit to compensate the financial loss due to 2 or 3 months of inactivity in the field of enforcement. We must be proactive and we must take our destiny in our hands. This crisis has shown us that we are vulnerable. We need to overcome this vulnerability by reinventing ourselves and by pushing the use of new technologies and proceedings. But, and this is the most important, by ensuring that we, as judicial officers, will remain the main actor of it. The judicial officer provides the state, the law and the economy with the benefits of a competent and efficient professional capable of sustaining future economic prosperity. And the UIHJ will always be solidary with its members and on their side to provide any help and assistance that is required. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to participate on this interview. I would like to congratulate Malone for having taken the initiative, and I wish all the best to all of you, and I hope to see you back, not only virtually, but also physically, in a very soon future and in good health, especially as my next family vacation is planned for August in Brazil. Stay safe, take care of you, and don't forget that UIHJ is with you. Obrigado.